Welcome to Mainland, your local regional television station, coming to you from the Nelson and Tasman region. In today's news, police warning for trampers, over 200 have their say on draft annual plan, houseboat structure on the move, and busy year ahead for Nelson Grey Power. Police are warning trampers in the Nelson Bays area to take extra precautions after 2 search and rescue missions in the past week were initiated after trampers were delayed or got lost due to trees having been blown down in recent storms. Constable Dave Cogger says the fallen trees in both instances had made navigation difficult for the trampers. In the most recent incident, an international student from the United States became disorientated when trying to pass a windfall in the Totra Pass area of Mount Richmond Forest Park last Wednesday. The man's friends raised the alarm on Friday night, and at first light on Saturday, search teams entered the area from the Hackett Valley and Third House. The missing man was located about 4 p.m. that day after hearing search teams whistling and calling his name. He'd been lost for 3.5 days at that point. The man was adequately clothed and in good enough shape to walk out of the area with his rescuers. Last week, an Austrian woman was delayed in the Mount Angeles area after she discovered the route to Speargrass was impassable due to windfall. Search preparations were underway when she made it out safely via another route. Constable Cogger says the incidents were a reminder that people should check the condition of the tracks with the Department of Conservation before embarking on a tramp. More than 200 people have had their say on the draft annual plan 2014 to 2015. The annual consultation closed late on Monday, and there's a provisional total of 215 submissions. Hearings will be held later this month for around 60 people who want to talk to Council about their submission. Popular issues submitted on this year were Saxton Field Velodrome, Brook Motor Camp, Bank Lane Canopy, the Trafalgar Centre, Modellers Pond, Rocks Road, Maitai River, and Nelson School of Music and the Theatre Royal. Meanwhile, Council is pleased with the level of submissions to the draft annual plan. Mayor Rachel Rees says councillors are looking forward to both reading and hearing the submissions, which covered a variety of subjects. She says their residents have used the annual plan process to tell them what they think, and that's the whole basis of consultation. Mayor Rees says always there are topics that are widely debated, and the submission process is a tangible way people can get their views across. Council will hear submitters at hearings on the 13th, 14th, 15th and 16th of May before considering the submissions on the 27th, 28th and 29th of May. Any amendments will be made before Council adopts the plan on the 19th of June, and it comes into effect on the 1st of July. The houseboat structure, which has been ordered to be moved on by the Environment Court, is on the move, but not without a defiant message by owner Paul Jepson, who has boldly painted the words "Life will go on long after money" on one side of the condemned vessel. Mr Jepson has just over a week to ship out of the haven, with signs he will comply, having moved it close to the Maitai River outlet. Nelson City Council can forcibly remove the structure if it's still occupying water space in just over 1 week. Labour Associate Spokesperson Foreign Affairs and Spokesperson for Ethnic Affairs and Trade and Defence Phil Goff was in Nelson on Tuesday, speaking at the Victory Community Centre. Mainland's Janine Pugh asked him about issues pertaining to immigration and ethnic communities.
Okay, we're down at the Victory Community Centre, and with me I have Phil Goff. Thank you, Phil, and welcome to Nelson.
Thank you. It's always good to be in Nelson, and it's always good to be with my colleague, Marion Street.
She's lovely, isn't she?
She does a great job.
She is. She's doing a fantastic job, I think, today. What are you seeing where, in the capital?
Well, in Auckland, which is my own city, it's a gateway city. So a lot of the people that migrate to New Zealand come to Auckland, but it would be wrong to say that new migrants are simply a feature of a city like Auckland or even Wellington. In a community like Nelson, you've got a really vibrant migrant community, and they contribute so much. Included in that migrant community is the work that we do, as an international responsibility, to help a small number of refugees each year. These are people whose lives actually, we sit here in the comfort of New Zealand. We can scarcely understand what those families have gone through. They've seen their friends, they've seen their families killed, they've been displaced, they've lived in refugee camps. They come to New Zealand to make a better life for themselves and their families. And we really need to make sure that we do all the things that help them adapt and adjust and settle into New Zealand as quickly as they can. Because only when they've settled into New Zealand can they begin to participate and to contribute to the country of their choosing.
Yeah, because that's the big picture, isn't it? It's wanting them to be part of our existing community of us being Kiwis, but also they're going to bring their own culture. That must be difficult for some communities to get that balance, because you don't want to have an overconsumption of specific groups within, we still want to keep our New Zealand culture.
Well, I think that we will keep our New Zealand culture. I look at my own electorate and my own schools, and I see kids from probably 110 different ethnicities growing up together, going to school together, playing together, studying, going out to work together, and they're Kiwis. But there's no reason why they should have to give up their own identity as well. We should be proud of the diversity that we have in lantern festivals and celebrating Diwali with the Indian community. That's what helps give us the richness and diversity of a country, and it also helps us in practical terms. When I go on a trade mission to China, it's really good to have Kiwi Chinese there that understand not only New Zealand, but understand Mandarin fluently, understand their own culture. They're the people that can really help us on marketing breakthroughs. So these communities are a huge asset to New Zealand. Let's make the most of them as an asset. Let's help them adjust to New Zealand society. Let's utilise their skills to the maximum extent, because it makes us all better off.
There were fewer building consents issued in March this year in a comparison with the same month in 2013. 47 new dwelling units were authorised in Nelson, Tasman in March last year and 34 in March 2014. The value of consents was $13 million and $11 million respectively. In the studio today we have newly re-elected President of Nelson Grey Power, Neville Mail. Welcome, Neville.
Thank you. Nice to be with you today, Joy.
It's wonderful to have you here. Now, there's recently been an AGM, hasn't there? And There's been some developments from that AGM.
Yes.
One of them was that you were re-elected. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome. Good feeling?
Yes, it is. It's been an interesting... I've been involved as President for 18 months now. It's been an interesting time, because the amount of work in an organisation such as ours, where we've got huge membership, is a lot more demanding than perhaps I actually thought it was going to be when I took it on. But it's been a very interesting 18 months. We've increased our membership by over 1,000 in that time. We've done a lot of good things. We're at a point as an organisation where there's still a lot to be done, so I still feel I can make a contribution in that regard. So.
Now, as we've seen in the media recently, the idea of a name change has been brought up.
Yes.
But their name change was defeated, wasn't it, on Monday, unfortunately?
It wasn't a major issue, Joy. One of the things that we've done with regard to reviewing our constitution is to have a look at how our constitution might make it more attractive for people, in particularly the 50 to 65 age group, to join up. That's where we're going to be putting a lot more of our energy, because as much as we've got 9,600 members in the total membership database for Nelson Grey Power, only about 15% of them are in that 50 to 65 age group. And of course, what we're wanting to do is to increase those numbers, because of course they are going to be the mainstay of Grey Power in the future. So the idea of changing our name to make it 50 plus Nelson Grey Power really had a bit of a marketing edge to it, I think. And the membership debated it at length. It was a very democratic process, as was the discussion on all of the clauses of the new constitution, and in the final vote it was decided that they wanted to keep the name change. In fact, they didn't want to see the name change take place, so we are still Nelson Grey Power Incorporated, and that's the way that we will remain. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to back off the idea of promoting Nelson Grey Power for that 50 to 65 age group, because we want to see more people in that age group come on board. There's a bit of a misconception out there, really, Joy, that Grey Power is all about oldies. You've got to be retired, and you've got to be basically out of any sort of active type of lifestyle to become a member of Grey Power. Well, that's totally wrong. We're in fact a very active group of people. We've got tremendous skills, knowledge, as you can imagine, in our total membership, and so we want to see this new grouping of slightly younger age of people coming on board. So that's the plan at this time.
And have there been any other changes to the Constitution?
The Constitution has basically been totally reviewed, Joya, just to make it a more acceptable document in terms of which we should say perhaps more modern technology, but most important, and probably one of the main reasons that we changed our Constitution, was to open the door for us to apply for charitable status. So our new Constitution will allow us to do that.
Fantastic. Wonderful. And in a recent report in March, you said that you were, headed for a very, very busy year.
Yep.
And there were certain things, that are coming up, such as the development of the Nelson Tasman strategy for the future of your ageing population, and it's a major project this year, I believe.
It is, and thank you for raising that, Joya, because the timing couldn't be better. In fact, I'm just doing all the final agenda and forum discussion paperwork today, which will be going out to all of those that are taking part. The forum is on Tuesday the 6th of May. We've invited 50 organisations that have some role to play with older persons' care, providing services, etc. We've had a very good response. 36 so far have indicated they're going to be there. It's a forum really designed to open the door for discussion on how all of these organisations, all of whom play an important part in this particular activity and focus area that they're involved with, but how we can, as a group of people looking after the issues of older people, can work together on a strategy for the future. So this planning forum is all about developing that strategy for an ageing population, and this is something that the government is supporting anyhow. I mean, the positive ageing strategy, which has been the mainstay of the government's policy around how issues facing the elderly should be addressed, is now 12 years old. Government has decided now that they really want to be able to look at the strategy and see what results have come from it. This new strategy that we're developing hopefully will be the pathway for that. So the government are keen to see better regional cooperation, and I think, and I'm hopeful that the outcome from our forum next Tuesday will be that we'll have most of the organisations putting their hand up to say, look, we think it's a good idea that we should look at working together, taking a future view about where we're going with matters that we are responsible for as organisations, and how we can work with others so that we can be better prepared for the issues and the tidal wave of older people that are living or coming to Nelson. I mean, we're talking about by the year 2030 having about 30% of our population over 60 years of age. So there's going to be some big issues. Not a short-term thing, Joy. It's probably going to take a couple of years to get into place, but this is really the sort of starting point, opening the door for discussion. And I'm confident that after next Tuesday we will have a platform that we can move forward on. So Grey Power is taking the initiative. Why are we taking the initiative? We think we represent the largest group, of course, of older people in our region, and we think it's an appropriate thing that we should be involved with.
Fantastic. Nelson MP Dr Nick Smith has welcomed the addition of the Nelson Courthouse to the audio-visual network connecting courts and prisons. Dr Smith says this is a huge step forward for the Nelson Courthouse, which is a 5-hour drive and 300 kilometres away from the prisons in Christchurch. He says it's hugely expensive to be carting prisoners to and from Christchurch for relatively short court appearances, when modern technology enables a huge saving in both time and money. He says it's also more practical for the prisoners. The new links are the latest in a $27.8 million program upgrade, which is expanding AVL to a total of 18 courts and 13 prisons by 2015. The AVL program is a joint initiative between the Department of Corrections and the Ministry of Justice, and is enabled by the courts, Remote Participation Act, recently passed by the government. 6 prisons currently have AVL. Dr Smith says there are bigger advantages from this technology upgrade in Nelson than any other part of New Zealand because we are the community furthest away from any of our prisons. He says it also has the advantage of reducing the demand on the police holding cells in prison and will also enable the court to better manage its time and reduce delays. Natureland Zoo is as iconic to Nelson as the Boulder Bank, but more easily accessible for people in the region. After much speculation and uncertainty as to what was going to happen to the park over the past couple of years, the Natureland Wildlife Trust was set up and took over the running of the zoo in late 2013. The 2 young stewards of the zoo, Meg Selby and Mike Rutledge, spoke with Janine Pugh on how life has been since taking over the zoo.
Okay, we're down here at Natureland Zoo in Nelson with Meg Selby and Mike Rutledge. Thank you guys for having us here this morning.
Thanks for coming down.
You can see the rain has finally stopped, so that's actually a really good thing. Now, guys, you took over Natureland late last year amid lots of speculation of things happening and people coming and going and the council not knowing what to do with the place. How has it been over the last few months after taking it over? And because especially this park, the zoo being close to a lot of Nelsonians' hearts. Mike, do you want to sort of fill us in on that?
Sure, it's been, firstly a huge adventure. There's a lot to do. I guess like taking over any new business or any new challenge, there's a huge amount of just the admin stuff to get yourself on the ground and up and running. But with something as unique as Natureland, there is a lot of extra things to go on. So there has been a huge amount of work to get up and running in terms of all the staffing side of things, then through to MPI accreditation that Meg's been putting a huge amount of work into, and then just giving Natureland a bit of a freshen up and a new lease of life has been the focus over the first 6 months or so. And over that time, it's also been assessing what we think the biggest opportunities are for future growth and development, and we're now starting to put some of those plans into place.
Okay, now Meg, your background is obviously working with animals. You've done a lot of conservation work back home in America. Can you tell us differences or the different things that you've learned over the years and how you plan to apply things here at Natureland?
I think one of the biggest things that I've learned so far is mostly about how to work together with other people. So I've worked on several continents now and 4 or 5 different countries on specialized species-based conservation efforts. And the thing that really comes out of all of those projects and looking at the successes and failures of them is that the best results come when you're not territorial, when you're just willing to open your doors, work with people, collaborate. And that's something we really want to see Nelson do as well with Natureland. So we really want to be a part of the Nelson community, work with everybody else in the area who's also working on conservation, and just find ways to maximize the outcome. So
sure. Well, it is the key to work holistically, work together, because it gives a better result. So you briefly touched a little bit what has changed and what stayed the same, Mike.
Well, changes so far, it's really been a lot of just basic tidy up jobs. The place was quite run down, and there was a lot of things that just needed to happen that were pretty easy, simple fixes. They just needed some care, attention, and focus. So we've done a lot of those jobs now. Meg's put a huge amount of work into improving the animals' lives down here. So enrichments, improving their diets, and those kind of basic things, which is really paying dividends. We've got a lot of very happy animals down here now, which is great. And even the health and interaction of a lot of them has, we've seen some great improvements, which is great. In terms of some of the bigger things that we're looking at, we are not comfortable with saying that Natureland is fine as it is. There are, I think, huge opportunities to make the place better and I guess ultimately contributing more into the local community and to local conservation efforts. So We've been working with a local architect, Belle Stevenson, on designing a master plan for the whole site and where we want to see this place in 10 years' time. And we've seen the first draft of that now. It's pretty exciting. And then also specifically on some of the first must-do projects. For example, this aviary behind us is an original structure from 1967. It leaks, it's not a good viewing experience, it's not great for the birds, it just needs to come down. There's no two ways about it. So removing that and putting in some new facilities like a walk-through aviary for the Kia and much better rehabilitation and sort of vet facilities, so we can do a lot better job of rehabbing all the birds, the native species that we get brought into us, and then putting them back out into the local environment again.
Sure. Well, Mike and Meg, it's been a pleasure talking with you guys this morning, so thank you very much. So just want to encourage people to come on down and check out your lovely Natureland Zoo. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And finally, coming up in tomorrow's news, Mainland's Janine Pugh speaks with local musician Kath B about her big break on nationwide television. After the break, we'll bring you the latest weather update and some events and happenings coming up from around the region.